You shouldn't. You should wait for me to like put these headphones on.
Oh.
Otherwise, you're gonna tell me I'm echoing the whole time.
There we go. I don't know, Phoenix. You'll have to let me know. Because I'm not seeing a notification, but Twitch has also been weird for me lately about hosting and things. As you can...
I think we're good.
Alrighty. Actually, you are... Hold on. Overlay. Why you do this to me? There we go. Sin was a little bit shorter than everyone else by about a quarter inch.
This is probably the only time that will ever be true.
Yeah, I was about to say welcome to my life.
That's fair. And welcome to the show, everybody. We're back for Beacons of Kelestraye episode 6, and I just realized I didn't have any tunes going, so let me get this song going. So yeah, we're back, and last time was an absolute fun time, but before that, I should actually let y'all introduce yourselves. So before we get into playing the game, let's go overlay order. So Sin, Ro, Nins, do the thing. Tell people where to find you.
Hello, my name is Syrinscape, Emperor of the Sunflowers. I am of the He/Him Kingdom. My character's name is Brew, who is from the He/They dynasty. You can find me on Twitch at Syrinscape Beta, where you'll find me talking about world building and story things and RPGs and how much Waka annoys me. You can also find me on Twitch on Mondays and Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. Also yelling at Waka live about everything that he says, because it's awful. But Final Fantasy X is fun.
Hey y'all, I'm Ro. My pronouns are he, they interchangeably, and I play Danica, whose pronouns are she, they interchangeably. And I'm a game designer, writer, editor, and sensitivity reader. And you can find me mostly at Twitter at MonroeRo98, where I don't know what I do at this point, but it's a lot of fun.
Too much. That is the thing.
It's a lot. I believe the good sir here has published a thing that tells you exactly what it is that they do, like editing and copy editing and sensitivity reading and their rates and things.
Yes, indeed.
Hello, I am Ninbins at Ninbins. I hail from the same empire of he/him. I play Barry of the They Empire.
I love this.
Thank you.
And you can find me around the internet, you know, being a big old nerd.
And mostly being responsible for unleashing me on everyone.
Haha.
And I am Eric, aka Eldritch Crow, court jester of the He/They dynasty, and I'll be your narrator for the evening. We are also missing one Rainy, aka Rained Keys on Twitter, and that is because she is currently out doing things for school-related things, as far as I know. She should be joining us about halfway through the session, hopefully, if all goes well. So we will have to write out Alyssa for a little bit, but that's fine. So to kind of recap last game, gosh, how do I summarize this? Y'all talked with a very gender fluid vampire, had some interesting conversations with other NPCs, and Rue made friends with one cosmic deity and potentially annoyed another. Though the other seemed Or just basically put out than anything else for being yoinked.
I mean, I don't know if they were put out or honestly just confused.
Yeah, that's fair. I expect confusion is a regular state for them, to be quite honest, because they just show up places without knowing why. But
It's their own fault too, which is all the better.
Well, I mean, for fairness, it literally can't be their fault. They just appear where they're summoned and at no other time.
Yep.
But that's what they get for leaving me on vacation and not letting me go home. And I want that to be clear. That part is their fault.
I mean, that's what they get for stealing eldritch powers beyond their mortal kin.
Yep, also true. Also, it is partially your fault for calling them because you took actions that made the cosmos sit up and take notice.
You said, hey, do you want to be friends? And I said yes. How is that my fault?
They were your actions taken. All I mean is that
You should have just ignored. You should have just ignored the person talking to you who clearly wanted to be friends. You should have ignored them.
Or just like sticky noted it for later, who knows. But that said, you all were requested by Vinat, the local vampiric doctor, to go check out a slightly dangerous scenario where the local giant hummingbirds were starting to kind of go after people who were collecting their feathers for various means. Vinat likes to use their feathers and collect the oils from them specifically so that he can create certain healing items from the oils. And unfortunately, what are known as amber-crested hummingbirds in the Titan Skull Woods have been a little bit angry is an understatement as of late. And so you all decided to help him out. You briefly visited the library while Rue had a conversation, and that's where we open our show. You all had were just about to leave town for the woods. Now, to give you all a bit of an idea and a refresher of what these woods are, they are a couple hours outside of town. So, kind of that distance where it's like they'd be one town over by our definition, really. And they're known as the Titan Skull Woods because over time they have effectively grown up around a massive skull that has two curled horns that arc backwards from its forehead. No one knows where it comes from or how long it was in the mountain that became this plateau, but what everyone does know is that in the years that these woods have been growing, everything there grows a little bit bigger. We're talking like California redwoods if you just, took them and like pinched the corners outwards a little bit. So that's kind of where you all are headed. Is there anything you would like to talk about? Anyone you'd like to interact with before you head out? Note that you will need a method to bring the feathers back with you because they are assumed to be fairly big.
Yeah, so I would be stopping by the barracks. I'd probably look for my sister to say bye real quick.
Okay, yeah.
And grab my messenger bag, just like dump its contents onto my bed and then just leave. Fair.
Your sister Leo just basically claps you on the shoulder and says, "Back to work already, huh?"
Yeah, kind of last minute, but it's something to do.
Fair enough. If you gotta keep busy, you gotta keep busy. Just careful, okay? Here the woods have been a little rough lately.
Yeah, thanks. I'll if I catch you when I get back, I'll say hi.
Yep, you got it. And then Leo basically goes back to arm wrestling one of the other Flame Wardens.
Yep, sounds about right.
As they do. So, I don't know how else to explain this other than these feathers, I believe I compared them to the size of like palm fronds before, depending on how you find them. And the idea here is to bring back, potentially multiple bundles of them if you can, that have just been kind of strewn about the forest floor. So you are all welcome to either, just bring a couple packs and load them in carefully, or figure out a way you'd like to carry them otherwise.
Barry has planted a small flax bush onto his shoulder, and he is constantly growing new strands of flax to weave a feather basket.
An interesting choice. Would you all care to walk, or would you like to find a way to kind of ride out to the woods? It's up to you.
I think I would take a walk. I do not want the angry birds, as it were, attacking whatever animals we bring out over there.
Yeah, that's fair.
A fair point.
Also, it probably makes, things easier for scouting purposes if we don't bring multiple things with varying scents and smells in case we have those kind of things lurking about.
Very true. You are not incorrect. So, in that case, it's a walking montage for at least a couple hours. And
Correction, it's a walking and weaving montage.
very true. Very true. You all will basically
Are you
see...
walking, weaving, and whistling?
No, Barry's too focused on weaving. He's making straps for these baskets.
Oh gosh, all the music running through my head right now for this. So, we have a walking and weaving montage, and as you walk kind of away, this is moving like somewhat northeast, or more in an easterly direction from town, I guess. And you can see the woods kind of growing on the horizon as you approach, but everything's still temperate. You can see some clouds like gathering off in the distance. There might be some rain that happens soon, at least within the next couple of days, coming off the mountains. And you can see kind of the silhouettes of the mountains. It's this interesting tiered effect of like, you have your current foreground surroundings, which are just open fields. And Rue, you didn't notice this quite before, but now that you're kind of walking this kind of dirt road, I guess you could say, you notice that the area around you does have some tall grasses. They're actually growing out of a broad field of moss that you assume just covers, the stone of the mountain beneath you. So it's a bit of a spongy feeling as you walk across these things. On top of that, you'd also notice as you go, these... I don't know how else to describe them. I mentioned them in an earlier episode where a child accidentally bumped into one, but there are these floating, almost pufferfish looking plants. And you can see them just kind of spiraling off into the distance, hanging out. Some of them are letting loose puffs of steam. You can also see what appear to be horses off to your left, wild horses actually, but they don't have legs. From basically their shoulders down, they are nothing but mist and clouds. And you see that they each have a singular kind of broad scythe-like horn coming up from their forehead. You also notice sort of mid-ground, if we were looking at this in the idea of a picture, are the woods growing against the horizon, and then behind them is the silhouette of the mountains and the mountain peaks. It's kind of this very beautiful layered image. And so, is there anything besides weaving and all that you all would like to do while you walk? Any desired interactions by any chance?
Oh, Rue, I should probably give this back to you. And I give them back their sword.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, this it's probably important for what we're gonna be doing, so.
You have a point, but I think for now, we can just put that away. The sword disappears. In a puff of flower petals.
Of course, and the very mild breeze just sort of very Yakuya versus Ichigo. You just see the petals kind of dissolve into the wind and get swept away. For any Bleach fans in the audience, that was a reference. Oh god. I just had a major flashback to when I was like 12 watching that scene for the first time. I was
How many
tiny.
baskets have I woven by now?
I'd say, considering you can grow the materials for it actively out of your own shoulder, you can get, I'd say probably 3 done. It's gonna be about a 4-hour trip, and I would assume it's, you know, close to 1 per hour, so your last one won't quite be finished by the time you reach the woods.
I will say one thing to Barry, which is, do those baskets have enclosures?
What do you mean?
Enclosures.
For what?
You know, like keeping a lid on the baskets for when we have to carry them back in case we run into.
Oh no, they're especially designed so that they'll keep the feathers in.
Okay. How do they do that?
Well, when you're weaving them, you weave them in a very specific pattern so that when anyone tries to pull them out, the feather itself gets caught on the flax, but doesn't ruin the feather unless they try to just tear it out. Then, of course, it will ruin the feather.
Does it also work for weather conditions like wind and such?
Oh yeah, the water will go straight through.
Nifty.
They're very loose weave baskets. A bit of a flexible weave, we'll say. Yeah,
And there are straps for you to wear them. So, here you go.
oh, you basically built like a wearable harvest basket. That's cool. I like that. Rue, it doesn't quite match your outfit, but
I was concerned about this.
I can
it-
get it dyed later.
it's a little off.
I was just rushed.
It's a little off tone.
Well, Barry, I have to. I kind of like glance around and glance at Danica for a second and say, well, you know, I have to say, I am surprised you have deemed me worthy of carrying such a thing. I will do my best to protect it. And shouldn't we be at a good position to kind of scout around for things by now?
This would be the point where Alyssa would break off and begin scouting. So Alyssa is your scouting ranger, and hopefully we'll have Rainy back soon.
Well, I don't know if. Well, I mean, I guess it is a social skill, so never mind that one.
So yes, I can't politics our way
Ah.
into finding things out here.
I do have observation as a skill.
Which you can use.
I would like to use I would like to use my clairvoyancy skill.
Interesting. Attempting to find the path, as it were.
So we know we're looking for hummingbirds, right?
Yes.
So does clairvoyancy, like, I know that it lets me look back and forth through time, but does it also let me look at things at a remote distance?
It may not let you look for things at a remote distance, but it would let you look for has something passed through this area recently, which could help.
Okay, then that is something I will do.
Okay. What's your skill level for this?
It is 2.
2. I'll set this. You know what? I'll set this at a 1. You're not under any kind of stress right now, so it'll be a pretty easy check to make.
Okay.
Especially since you know your targets, so you're like, has a hummingbird passed through this area? And then your vision goes, that's so Raven for a second.
Okay. Well, I suppose this is about as close as, you know, this is within range of where we're needing to go. So let's have ourselves a look. First draw of the day.
Damn. Okay.
Nice.
Well, you definitely succeed because I only pulled an 8. Um, so yeah, between you and Alyssa, like it takes you a little bit. I would say Alyssa probably has to start finding the first traces of things because you sort of have vague directions towards the meadow where the hummingbirds tend to congregate. It tends to be in the more basically you kind of came up from the southwest portion of the woods, and the meadow tends to be slightly northeast of the skull. So keeping the skull in view and kind of giving it a wide berth because everyone finds it very dangerous and very haunted. You all start to find these traces, and then using your powers as you start to find sort of the first branches that are broken, you immediately have this kind of flash of just the quick beating of wings, which sound, imagine like a quieter helicopter blade as these move through the space. And as you kind of start to follow this trail, you can see through your vision that this one hummingbird is weaving through the trees. You all stumble upon a single bright green feather about this long, slightly smaller than usual, but it is actually just rotating lightly and floating in midair as you circle around one of the large sequoia trees.
A question, because I have a question about card draws. Do King's Cascade still?
If you choose them to, you can either choose that they cascade or you can choose a separate perk if you have something you want to happen.
As a separate, like, can I bank a card?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
Okay. Then that is what I would like to do. I would like to bank a card.
You are more than welcome to. So you find sort of in an area where there's been a lot of activity. You can see that more of the smaller branches of the trees have been broken here. More of the leaves have fallen to the ground. You see just this one feather turning and floating in midair, almost as though under zero gravity.
This looks unusual.
Nins, how familiar do you think Barry is with these woods? Do you think he often travels out here, or they often travel out here?
Yeah, I think Barry does often travel out here just to keep an eye on what's happening. As the seasons change, he comes through just to see, what's the most prevalent species in the area.
Okay, so you'd be familiar with this a little bit. In that case, I won't make you make a check or anything. You would know that in order for hummingbirds this large to fly, they have actually adapted a mode of lightening their bodies, and it tends to apply to their feathers as well. So they have a bit of a magical adaptation in order to make sure they can defy gravity a bit. And they mostly use their wings for one, propulsion, and two, I'd say kind of course correction midair. So
I'm going to remember that about them.
Yeah, when I was creating these creatures in the background, I had a thought of like, wait, super large hummingbirds would not function without a way to lighten themselves. So here we are. That said, the feather is just floating. If any of you would like to do anything about it.
Like the feathers just covering
do
their
like
face.
do
So
the online?
I'm assuming some of us would know this is rather unusual for a feather to just do, yeah?
Yeah, for those of you that are unfamiliar with these birds, like Danica and Rue, this is weird. For Barry, this is just a walk in the woods. Yes.
How far up
so wait.
is it?
It's oh, that's a good question. It would probably be about 2 to 3 feet over your heads. So they were hovering like relatively low for their size when they skimmed between these trees. And it appears that this quill was probably just knocked out when they clipped a branch on their way by.
Well, I can
Phoenix
go
in
grab
chat
that.
says buoyant birds.
I can go and grab that, I guess.
Birds.
Yeah.
I'm going to just jump up to go grab the feather and give myself a little boost with some wind magic.
You absolutely can, and you manage to snatch the feather out of midair. It's in red or black?
Red.
Black. So you snatch the feather, nothing seems out of sorts, and you slightly flutter back to the ground. And off in the distance, you can't really tell where it's coming from, in the strange way that peepwoods tend to have. You get a little bit of an echo off the trees, almost, and you do hear the slight beating of wings off in the distance.
I believe our quarry is afoot. Or at least that's what I would say if I were some hunter type, but I'm clearly not that. So, I'm guessing we want to go after these things? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, your job is to
yeah.
retrieve as many feathers as you can.
This is a like me asking a character to the other's question.
Yeah, just
Do I? So I know that these. We know that these hummingbirds prefer a particular type of giant flower that grows in this area, but would I happen to know if they have a more diverse diet? Like, do they feed?
Have other things they like, basically.
Yeah.
You would know that they tend to prefer anything sweet. They tend to go
Great.
for nectar from flowers as their primary, but if they can find fruits that are small enough for them to crack open or break, they will do so, and that sort of thing. They are primarily herbivores, so they will not go after any other animals unless they are defending themselves for the most part.
So, in that case, I am going to detach the flax plant from my shoulder. I am going to plant it firmly in the. Rather, I'll use geomancy to dig a small area for it to settle into. And then I will make it grow using the local energy.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you to make a geomancy check just to see how effective this is and how effective this might be at drawing in a bird or two.
So I'm going to pull a card that is a 2 of diamonds, but I would also like to use a banked card that I've had from a previous session.
Absolutely. So you can spend one potential to do so.
Great. And that means that is a jack and a 2.
A jack and a 2. All right. Well, I pulled a 7 for the
The
difficulties.
recovery, though.
Yeah, very lucky. So you have a bit of trouble transplanting the flax plant at first. We'll say that that's sort of getting it to take root is the 2 in this scenario. But once you manage to get through that portion of the work, it tends to start growing very quickly. And then once it's taken root, you're sort of, you're acting kind of as this magical conduit for the space. So you are the thing that is directly connecting the energy of the flax plant to the energy of the area. And you started off and you're kind of controlling it like a valve. And you immediately can tell when the flax plant takes root because you get slammed with an unnatural presence of the wild. It is not overwhelming, but you were unprepared for it. And so the flax plant sort of has, to the rest of you, you see as Barry is focusing, the flax plant takes root, and then it has this almost explosive moment of growth before it comes back under control.
So at a certain stage of them maturity, flax plants actually grow flowers, and they are particularly sweet.
Look at that plant knowledge.
I love it.
You would witness kind of this explosive burst of growth, and that's when the flowers start to bud. And they very rapidly, you kind of dial back things a bit so that the plant doesn't overwhelm the area. And then you start to see these flowers bloom, and they are quite beautiful and quite fragrant. Red or black to see if this attracts a hummingbird, we'll say.
Black.
It is a jack of spades. So, you all kind of take a moment, and you haven't made it to the grove where the hummingbirds tend to hang out yet. But you wait, and maybe perhaps with a bit of Rue's help, you coax the breeze to carrying the scent a bit farther than it normally would. And eventually you do hear the beating of wings, but it is inconsistent. Rue, from your vision, you kind of, it's almost hiccuping. It's starting and stopping. And you see, it would almost be comical if it wasn't a little bit sad. You see this sort of mid-sized large hummingbird come through with very clearly a broken wing, sort of using one wing to course correct itself and awkwardly get its way through the trees. And when it sees you all, it does startle.
Can I assist the bird?
You can. It will carry it in a bit of an unexpected way closer to the plant, so it is a little skittish right now, I would say. And you can
What I would like to do is give it a gentle, like use aeromancy to give it a gentle air current to guide its way to as close to the plant as it wishes to go.
Okay. What's your aeromancy skill level? I'll have you make a check for this.
2.
All right. I will set this. I'll set this at a 2 because this is a very refined use of aeromancy in this way.
How dare you say I'm not refined? How dare?
Perhaps precise was the term.
Exact, even.
I drew a 7 and a 9.
Oh, lucky. Beat me by 1. So yeah, it takes you a little bit. There's a point where you start off and you have to slowly dial in, not necessarily the strength or breadth of the current, but the actual speed of it, so that the hummingbird can control itself. It does wind up very tentatively landing near the plant, but it knows you all are there and is very uncomfortable. Skittish would be a word. It looks about ready to, normally it would try and escape, but it's taking a very like standoffish position right now. Oh, and we have a rainy. So that's sad. Let me just
we're doing it live.
Yeah, let me just fix up our overlay here.
I look at Barry and go, "Hey Barry, do you know how to do medical things for birds?"
No. I do know how to do basic medical things for most creatures, but birds
same.
in particular, no.
I'm going to remain tiny for a moment while I fix all of these things. I also need...
Oh, Alyssa has a survival. I have survival as a stat.
Does that
nice.
mean you know how to, do things for birds?
Yes. Hold on. So we got burb,
what I should do is
wounded burb. Sorry, I missed all of this because I was taking tickets because, theater person who had to do a 2:00 matinee.
I have no idea what was just thrown.
That was my bracelet and it hit a bag of dice.
Oh, that's why I had a bit of a funny noise to it.
Did it hit a stack of cards? Because you need.
No, it did not. I don't know where my cards are.
That's fine. Thankfully, Rainy somehow managed to be perfectly centered on one of these captures.
This is what happens when I try to clean when my parents visit because I miss it and my mic is live and I understand this. So y'all can have a general laugh at my inability to find shit later.
It's fine.
I'll.
Worst comes
Give
to
me a
worst, we can
moment.
have someone else play your cards for you.
Yeah. I have several decks of cards I could use.
All right, I need to make myself not tiny now.
Found
Da-da-da-da.
Great.
There we go.
Sorry.
It is perfectly fine.
Sorry. Sorry.
Okay,
Here we go.
first off, that is more apologies than even my Canadian ass can handle, so don't worry about it. All right. So, overlays fixed. We are good to go. Rainy for a recap.
We're out here. We're in the woods, and we found a burb.
Yeah, Alyssa has been scouting around. Alyssa and Rue were able to kind of put their heads together and start finding a path to find these hummingbirds. You all stumbled upon a single feather that was just floating in zero gravity. And Barry recalled that the birds have a method of making themselves lighter magically so that they're actually able to fly. And it tends to give their feathers a bit of a weightless effect. On the other side of things, Barry also planted a flax plant and attracted a hummingbird. So Barry is being Barry, and it's wonderful. And you all have attracted this wounded hummingbird with one broken wing, and it's about mid-sized, so I would say
Oh, baby.
it's not a baby by any means. It is
But for these actual hummingbirds, they are on the...
it is the size of a young but still fully grown horse. Like, remember, these things were used as mounts.
I mean,
in the
yes,
old
but
world.
I'm talking about the age of the species in general.
It's old enough to. It's just turned old enough to drink.
Yeah, you wouldn't know
Okay.
how old it is looking at it. That's one thing Alyssa kind of can't tell, just because the size of these birds throws it off by a lot. Like, the size of these birds, they could live much longer than normal hummingbirds. It's kind of hard to tell.
So we are looking at...
So I look at this. We're looking at a wounded bird that is close to the flower and wants the flower.
Oh, actually, I
Also,
have
it's
medicine
coming
and
from
survival.
So I just
necromancer.
Kind of look at Alyssa and go.
I have both those skills too.
I kind of just.
I
look
have
at
medicine.
This is me looking at everyone and being like, does anybody know how to like heal or mend this? Here?
And everybody
I
just
do.
pulls out medical tape like,
I mean, man, Alyssa's mom actually worked with birds, though, so I don't know if that gives me a slight bit of an edge.
Yeah.
Probably not.
I mean, it more than likely would. You'd at least be able to tell, like, what's broken and in what way it's broken, which will give you a lot more, direct means to deal with it. In that case,
Well, should we try to indicate to the bird here that we don't mean it any harm and we only mean to help?
I have empathy as a skill, but I don't know.
you could make an attempt on this. It would be difficult just because the bird doesn't really understand you all, unless you have means to communicate with it that I'm unaware of.
Yeah.
So, one thing too I should describe is this bird is a vibrant, like, gem green, but it has what looks like along its beak and almost like splashed across its forehead between its eyes in this brilliant bright crest is this golden amber like material.
So this poor thing was ambushed while trying to eat the flower.
Potentially, it's hard to tell. You haven't examined it yet to tell. You can just tell that its wing is non-functional at this point.
Could I use my pyromancy in a medical way?
You can absolutely try. What would you like to do?
To help, because I'm sure it's in pain and it's probably like inflamed. So I'd like to use my pyromancy to either like absorb the heat or like heat it up so it, like the swelling goes down around the wing.
I want to be a heating pad.
I'm gonna be...
Basically.
That is exceedingly clever, so I will say yes. That will lower the difficulty of any checks made to attempt to heal this bird. So,
Hi, hello, I
Do I-
only have one card. For
Should I
Well-
use a pyromancy check or a medicine check?
No, I'll just say that you just do it.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
this is kind of going to be a group effort thing, I would imagine. So we're going to say, normally I was, depending on who makes the medicine check, I'm probably going to set that difficulty at a 3. So you'll lower that difficulty to a 2. And then if anyone else has any ideas, they can attempt to further lower that difficulty as well.
What does
Mary.
what does vigor as a skill allow you to do?
Vigor is
That's
your
cool.
own like personal athleticism and personal health. It would
But
allow
Mary
you.
had it.
It would allow you some understanding of like whether or not the creature is healthy to look at. But that's about it in this instance.
I don't. Well, I have an idea, but I'll have to wait for the rest of the team to like share some stuff before I speak on this idea.
Barry, you had an idea?
Tapping into that same energy I was tapped into earlier, Barry will grow a fruit. Barry will grow a fruit from his beard. And he will lace it with chemicals that normally put birds to sleep, or rather animals. And considering this is an animal of a large size, it's got to be a big fruit.
That is an interesting concept. Okay, so Barry, you would know there's actually like a native plant that puts things to sleep as its defense mechanism in this area.
But aren't the birds largely unaffected by those particular plants?
The birds are only largely unaffected because they have long enough beaks to sip nectar without disturbing the plant's petals.
Ah, all right. Could any of you mind finding for me and I
Are we
describe the plant?
Are we in front of one such flower?
No, not currently. You'll have to root around for one a little bit. But basically, these flowers are a vibrant purple, almost like, think a deeper lavender or almost an orchid. But if you took the color of the orchid and like spread it out throughout the entire petal. And they are kind of a bell-shaped collection of petals. And you can definitely see that like the hummingbirds have kind of this natural advantage because it is effectively the pollen of the plant that puts creatures to sleep, because the plant will spit it in their faces if they try and take any of the petals. The plants themselves are huge. Everything grows bigger in this area, including the plants, so this flower is probably tall enough where like one of you could potentially... It's... I don't know how else to describe this other than it is roughly tuba-sized. If you were to just like cut the plant and try and take it home, you could carry it like a tuba. My
That's a
inner band
big
geek is
plant.
showing, but it's fine.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about, though.
I mean, tubas are a very good sizing of
really are.
flowers, especially bell-shaped flowers.
Listen, I'm not gonna. If it's accurate, it's
And
accurate.
not a tuba and not a sousaphone.
Oh god, no.
Are
Sousaphones are too big for
sousaphones
this.
larger?
No,
Are they larger?
yeah,
Yeah,
they
they
wrap
very much
around the
are.
whole body.
But yeah, these plants are colloquially known as slumberjack plants. One for the pun, and two because they knock you on your ass.
So 3 for the pun.
Yeah, 3 for the pun, basically. But yeah, with Alyssa's tracking skills and a little bit of Barry's knowledge for the description, Alyssa, if you choose, you can absolutely find one of these plants nearby.
I mean, I'm not touching it. I'll point it out. Mr. Windboy over there can disturb this bird. I mean, disturb the plant for the pollen.
Are you
Mr.
saying this in
Windboy?
character?
You know what? Fuck it.
If you-
Yeah, she'll say this in character. She's tired. She's been tracking all day. It's a large ass
Okay.
forest.
I have a name, Feather Girl.
I'm Barry.
Barry's me.
God.
At least with that sense of humor.
The anime moment has been complete. Thank you for your time and energy.
Just a chibi
just,
Barry
like,
in the background pops up.
Barry.
I'm Barry.
Alyssa just like barely cracks a smile. I mean, all the same, bro. Would you mind? It'll be easier to take care of the wing itself if you could. Also,
I would not, and I would be happy to go with you in case you run into any trouble.
Thank
An interesting thought. Would either of you like there to be trouble?
No, thank you. No, we're trying to heal a bird. Please.
I would like to. I would like to heal the bird before there's trouble.
Very well.
There would be trouble anyway.
There's gonna be trouble anyways, but please, can we just take care of the one thing and then?
It's not even the one thing. I just want to have the wholesome moment because it's wholesome, you know?
No, absolutely. We're going to kind of montage through you finding the plant because I'm not going to make you make a check for that. Alyssa's a good enough tracker to find a goddamn plant in the woods.
When she finds it, I would like to use... there are 2 ways that we can do this. So, can I use Luminance to teleport the plant?
An interesting thought. Yeah, you absolutely could.
I mean, Barry teleports through plants with luminance. Why can't we teleport the plant?
I would like to teleport the plant, not necessarily the full way to the camp because I don't know if that's what Luminance would let me do, and I only have like a level 1 at Luminance. However, I would like to use Luminance to put the plant as close to us as possible, and I would like to use Aeromancy to wrap the plant in kind of a wind bubble so that if any of the pollen comes out, it stays trapped in the bubble next to the plant and doesn't like sprawl out all over the place in the woods.
Knock us all out.
Yeah, this is very clever and I enjoy this. So, the first thing I'm going to have you do is I'm going to ask either Sin or Rainy to make a red or black check.
You want me to do this then?
Sure.
Sure, why not? Red.
It is black.
Damn it.
So,
Sorry.
Sorry for what?
I
don't know if this was to let this be really cool and succeed, or if this was just
this was to see whether or not the plant is fully intact. So as you both discover this plant, you do notice that part of its stalk, which is fairly hardy considering how large this plant is, appears to have been bent by something very large and tipped so that the plant could be tipped downwards. But that said, Rue, I'm going to need you to make a check.
Or
simply for teleporting the plant. This is a luminance check. I'll set it at 1 because again, you're not under any stress for this. And we'll just see how it goes. I'm not going to make you make a check for the aeromancy because I feel like that's just a thing you could do. Okay. So I pulled a queen, but ties go to the players. So you are very fortunate with that.
Are queens and jacks about the same level now?
Yeah, queens and jacks both count for 10.
Oh, okay.
Keep math easy. So, that said, this is interesting. So you do effectively manage to teleport the plant, and you do so safely. It is, I'd say, perhaps a stretch of your focus because it's a manipulation of 2 very different magical effects at once. But you managed to do it, and you feel it's almost like you just had a good magical workout and you pushed yourself a little bit. It's quite satisfying. But you do both manage to get the plant back to Barry for specific harvesting. And Barry, you notice that there is a collection of the pollen that has been swept up into this somewhat cloud of energy that Rue has built up.
Barry, do you want me to just drop the pollen on our bird friend here?
Yes, that would be lovely.
Okay.
So I take the bubble of wind and I change its shape into a funnel so that the pollen pours out.
Very well. The bird kind of senses this disturbance in the wind, but doesn't, the fruit that Barry has gifted it is keeping it occupied. And so it sort of just hits it over the eyes and over the beak, and then it inhales. And you hear what can only amount to an adorable bird sneeze before it just starts to drift off to sleep. And you can see it kind of like teeter for a second, but instead of falling over, it just tilts in zero gravity and falls asleep in midair.
I mean, here, just because we're going for maximum ooh-woos in this description, does it curl up a little bit?
It does curl up as best it can despite the wounded wing. There is a funny moment though where the way it tilts puts its wounded wing towards the ground, so you all have to find a way to sort of like rotate it mid-air to get it at a good level for you all to treat it.
Alyssa's just like poking it up with her bow because it's literally half her height. No, it's actually exactly her height.
Yeah, it's basically a balloon.
I can basically make I could, if we need to make one, I could make a small, like, kind of tube, if you will, of a light breeze to keep it balanced in one direction if it has an outstretched wing.
Barry just grows really tall grass
Hold it still.
to lift up the wing.
There's now a gurney made out of flax.
Yep, basically.
Yep.
Black Gurney!
So it
This
is
why we bring
fast
the
asleep.
Navidad.
This is why you bring the plant boy.
This is why we bring Plant Boy. Alyssa is gonna climb up the grass to take a look at that wing and to treat it. So let's check that now, dear DM.
Does this feather look like the feather that we collected earlier, does it look like it belonged to this bird or a bird that looks like this one?
No, this bird looks like it's a bit too small for this particular feather to belong to it. It was most likely an older bird that passed through the same space.
Okay.
Birds shed feathers all the time.
Barry also grows straight branches to split the bird's wing.
Okay. I would say with all the work that's been put into this difficulty check has been lowered to a 1. So this is going to be a 1 versus 1 medicine check here.
Okay.
For whoever wants to take the medicine check, of course, because I know multiple of you have the skill.
I can take it. I haven't really contributed much. I just pointed out the flower.
I'm back.
What's that?
That's a 5.
7 of hearts.
Hey, nice. So it takes you a bit. I'm going to say the work here probably takes you a solid hour or so. So we're talking like you are into the afternoon now, for sure. And you start off by splinting the wing. You make sure the bird is fast asleep. There may be a, yes, Sin, go sit down and do the thing.
Okay.
Sit.
We will not require things of Rue for a few minutes. You are fine.
Just have your ears on or have your headphones on so we can call for you eventually.
If you can.
Okay. I imagine that it will be a lot of yelling by then.
Probably.
Please rest.
This bird just became an allegory for Sin. Anyways.
In that hour, Barry will be examining the slumberjack plant to see if he can adapt that same pollen, the same sleeping agent for himself.
Interesting. So I'll say this is
Who cares about being blue when you can be green and purple?
I mean, one, fair, it's my favorite color scheme, but also two, this is interesting because now I would say jot this down as like you could sort of arranged spit a sleep attack if you decided one zone, if you wanted to make it like an actual functional attack thing. But I will absolutely allow you to be able to like cultivate these flowers on your person.
Yeah, Barry's just got like it just burst through his beard and just like tiny tubers.
Yep.
Tiny lumberjacks.
Which is an interesting thing because you notice like Barry kind of accidentally makes a mistake at first growing these, where when he starts growing them, the pollen actually gets into his beard and he starts to get drowsy, or they start to get drowsy. So Barry has to find a way to sort of regrow them so that it doesn't affect him or them. Pardon me. I keep screwing up Barry's pronouns and I feel terrible.
That's okay, I do it too.
That said, so there's a point where you get a very drowsy Barry for a few minutes, and then Barry just wakes back up and is like, oof. But that said, over the course of the hour, you splint the bird's wing. You manage to make it so that the bird is comfortable. Danica drawing heat away from what appears to be the wing is kind of wounded in two portions. The primary like support bone for the wing is broken, and it's a clean break, thankfully. But it is also appears to be slightly dislocated at the joint. So your use of pyromancy and pulling inflammation away and pulling the heat away helps quite a bit with the dislocation. So the first job is to splint the wing, and then you help with the dislocation, and then you start mending the wing bone itself over the course of that process. You do manage to completely heal a bird. And as you all hit about that hour mark, you've reapplied the pollen a few times because the bird started to stir. You get the sense that it is not a long-term sleep. And so, Barry, I'll probably have it be where like you put them to sleep for one turn if you decide to use that in combat, that sort of thing.
Okay, cool.
It will be based on your geomancy skill, I would say, because it's going to be the act of
Right.
rapidly cultivating that pollen in order to use it against someone, or if you ever choose to synthesize it for other means, you absolutely can. For those
I'm gonna
at
be
home,
the doctor's favorite person.
yeah, for those at home wondering what's going on, Nins came up with a wonderful concept of being able to copy the traits of creatures that Barry encounters. Or in this case, plants. So it is going to be a very interesting instance. If the plant were like an animal, I'd say it would probably require transfiguration. But since you are a plant-based being, I'll say geomancy.
Plant.
Yeah. So, you all manage to heal this bird, and when it awakes, it is a little bit groggy, and then it notices its wing works, and it starts sort of testing itself out, making sure it's not in pain. And you can see that, interestingly, it has full like 360 control, so it can just, it's almost like it's an astronaut in space, but it isn't. And so it's hard not to call it adorable, but it absolutely is, because there's points where it just goes darting through the trees, and it like pokes its head out to see you, but it pokes its head out upside down at an angle from behind one of the tree trunks because it is upside down, and then it just rockets off in sort of a northeasterly direction. And it is very clearly making a wide berth around the giant Titan skull, which, Rainey, I forgot to mention, the woods themselves are, I described it earlier in the episode as like California redwoods if you took the corners and pinched them outwards.
Yeah.
And in the center of them is this massive skull with two
Giant
curved
skull.
horns.
Yeah, you made this. You also gave that descriptor towards the end of the last episode. So.
Oh, okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure you knew. Locally, you would know that everybody considers the Titan Skull to be super cursed and haunted, so nobody goes there. Not even you. It is like we're talking that
Super
level.
Oh, it's that level. It's just like super cursed and haunted.
No,
Sounds like Alyssa's jam.
yeah, no, this is the kind of like, this isn't like Scooby-Doo, I got spooked by a ghost haunted. This is people that go there don't come back haunted. That's
Yeah, they would say the same of the Blackwood or the Blackwater Delta, the woods around the Blackwater Delta.
yeah, but that was more like folktale-esque. If you do certain things, you won't come back. This is just blanket, like, no, you don't go there. Period. Like even the wardens, if they come to the woods, they skirt the place. But that said, the bird sort of just rockets off into the distance, and you do notice a few more feathers are on sort of the gurney that you all built. So I'd say you have a total of 5 feathers roughly at this point, just from having to splint it and, you know, move it around, take care of it. A few of the older feathers that were about ready to fall out just did naturally. So you've got about 5 of these feathers.
How many did we want?
Vinat said to grab as many as you can, and they will give you basically 1 vial of material to create healing salves and potions per 5 that you find, because they get about 3 vials worth of oils out of them.
We can try for double. If we follow the bird's direction, we might be able to find more along the way from older birds. Seems to be a migratory path. As Alyssa's just like perched on this flax bed.
Well, it came flying out of a clearing not too far away. We may find tracks of what's been hurting them there.
Not too.
And I know it's not our original objective, but I would like to ensure the survival of these creatures.
I mean,
Almost
two
as
birds.
if on cue, you do hear a faint echo of something roaring off in the distance.
Well, that's not foreboding at all.
It might be worth noting here, but earlier when we were finding the flower and stuff, right? There was the sign of something rather large just kind of wandering through here.
Yeah, it bent the slumberjack itself, like, almost in 2. We were lucky that it was still hanging on by whatever threads of the stalk got left.
So, with that, what would you all like to do going forward? Are you following the hummingbird's path? Are you going to try and take a separate way? You're kind of like, how to put this? If you're like here, here's the skull, and the meadow would be about here. So you've got maybe another hour's travel, maybe an hour and a half through the woods, because you're dodging underbrush and all that stuff to get to the meadow.
Oh, Barry will definitely try to make that easier using geomancy.
Yeah, there's kind of this act of like coaxing roots out of your way, I would say. And it does help. It would cut it down to about an hour's worth of travel for sure. Nobody's going to twist any ankles or hurt themselves moving through here. That's basically a given. As you're moving, Alyssa. Do you have survival? Yeah.
Yes, I do. It's only a 1 card.
No, that's fine. Make a survival check for me. I'll set this at a 1 as well.
I don't like this. I do not like this. Oh! King of Spades. So that is a choice of a cascade
Or something else if you choose. If there's something that comes to mind that you would like, you can tell me. Otherwise, I can just come up with the extra that you get. Up to you.
I'll leave it into your hands because my brain is still. We got like slammed at ticket sales. I had to make change 10 separate different times.
Oh no, bisexuals and math.
Bisexuals, math, and a lobby full of people just chattering, just getting your anxiety just going higher because you're taking care of tickets. Fight me.
I may have to change up the music a little bit. So as you're going through the woods, you wind up noticing certain things that pique your eye. And they're the kind of things that normally would make you think this is not a safe place to be.
Mm-hmm.
You notice, first off, up one of the large trees, you see that some of the bark has been peeled back, as though from claws. And the bark being peeled back is fairly high above your head. So either whatever did it was big or could climb.
Why not both?
Why
You
not
know
both?
what? Why not both?
As you're moving through, you start to notice a few other signs. You find, you know what? Red or black, first off.
Black?
It is black. So I'd say you actually find another 5 discarded feathers along the way. But they are not necessarily damaged, but they are ruffled. You keep on moving.
Mm-hmm.
Going through
And how
slow
close-
paced.
Yeah, how close are we to the skull?
The skull
can
is-
we see it?
You can kind of always see it when you're in the woods because it'll peek up over the canopy. There are points where it kind of, the height of it disappears if the branches get too thick, but you can't like see it between the trees right now. You're still too distant.
Okay, good.
You start to notice a few more things.
Mm-hmm.
There is a large swipe mark across one of the trees. Doesn't appear to be from a claw, but you do see like a significant swath of bark has been damaged from whatever moved across it.
Ah, much like deer and scraping against trees with their antler velvet.
A little bit, but think the size of a rowboat
Mm-hmm.
in terms of patch.
Swab. Yep.
I would like to use Claromancy.
I love how, so look at the captions.
What?
It didn't say Claromancy, it said Glaromancy. As in Glaramancy. And I'm very happy with it. Anyways. Sin, what would you like to attempt to see?
I would like to see, like clearly something came through here and left this. I would like to see what that was.
Okay. Your Claromancy is a 2, correct?
It is.
Okay, so I will set the difficulty at a 2.
Who would like to draw those 2 cards?
Sure.
Nins has it.
Hey, no mine.
Captions. Captions.
Ah.
Nins is not Ninja Man.
13.
Ooh, Queen of Diamonds and a 3.
I unfortunately Played a 17. So Sin,
No.
what you see, you do get a vision, but it's a bit fragmented. You see a panicked hummingbird moving away from this area in the direction of the meadow, and you hear more than see growls and noises akin to and then you also hear a slight, not really, I shouldn't say slight, a very kind of thunderous crack as something hits the tree. There's a large and intimidating sound. Also, I hope my sound effects for that growl came through.
I mean,
Good.
I hate you.
So yes.
This seems to be whatever scared the hummingbirds.
Yeah. So with my survival, dear DM. Oh,
Mhm.
sorry, I am very tired. With that survival of mine, would I be able to actually like sort of piece together what exactly like I know from the markings that we have in the tracks, I'm thinking of monster hunting worlding this. So like with the pieces of fragments of like the scrapes, the bent flower, can I figure out what monster this is from all that with a survival check?
You can absolutely try. What's your survival?
A 1.
A 1?
However, I have a banked card from like forever ago.
Yes. Oh, and I forgot to remind you all, you do have 3 points of potential that the audience has bought you all, just collectively, that you can use at any point.
I would
that
also
is
like
the
to use
central
the
pool.
point of the potential, please, if you don't mind me from grabbing from the community pool.
Okay,
Not at
so the difficulty
Go
for
for
this
it.
is going to be a 3. Not because you're under duress, but because the stuff you're seeing doesn't add up.
All right, I will nab. I'm going to burn one of my banked cards, and I will nab a point from the community pool.
Okay, so you don't have to spend any of your own potential. You just spend the potential to get the card out of your bank.
So that is 3 cards total that I am drawing. The Jack of Spades, 5 of Spades, and a King of Spades.
You're very lucky.
Again.
I pulled a Jack, a 5, and a 2.
Give me that. What do you would suggest? And it's a full spade run too. What does that do?
You gain 1 potential,
Hell yeah!
I would say, depending on the skill. I can't remember what skills Spades associates with off the top of my head.
Spades associate with the social skills. So presence, observation are my 2 social skills.
Okay, fair. Can't remember if it's just if you play more than a suit or if it has to match the skill. Just take 1 potential for now. It's fine. I don't remember my own rules.
I think we made it. I think we made it that if you played more than one of the suit, you would get the extra potential, because this is a thing that came up in our first episode.
Yeah. In that case, just gain the potential and call it a day. So, as you're going through here,
What cool thing should I get with my king, though? Because I have a king.
I mean, I can just give you more information for it if you'd like.
That would actually be nice.
Okay, so this is a world of fantastical beasts. What you're seeing here doesn't add up, because you're seeing markings from what could be 2 different creatures that normally are not seen in the same habitats or the same place. So the first thing you noticed from the bent flower and the claw marks you saw on the tree, it looked like a bear. You know, they looked like bear claw marks, and you know that bears, on occasion, for at least these larger plants and things, will absolutely try and bend the stalks to get a snack, for sure.
Especially Titanwoods bears.
Yeah. And like the size and the spacing of the bear claw marks seem like could be a bear.
Bear.
But the swipe across the tree, you haven't seen something like that since you've been to the lowlands. That is the kind of thing that you only see if you go, you know, like northwest or farther west. When you start seeing large lizards and dinosaurs, basically, you know, drakes and dinosaurs. Because that kind of thing is the idea of like, you tend to only get that shape and that kind of a scrape when a dinosaur's or a drake's tail strikes against something. And those are kind of the two things that are clashing in your head right now. Like, these two aspects should not be in the same place. And then you hear it off in the distance. You hear as one of these massive sequoia trees falls. You can't see it, it's just too dense here, but you hear it and you can feel it hit the ground, and you can feel it hit other trees or in the distance. And it's in, at least most of the noise comes from the direction you are looking in and you are heading towards, which is that meadow.
What's that clacking noise? Oh, no, it's just my knees.
Yeah, Barry, I should point out, these trees are massive. To bring one of these trees down,
You'd have to be me, or something bigger.
yeah.
And Alyssa just like states very slowly, I think we've got more than just one thing hurting these birds. And somehow a drake or a wyvern or a dinosaur made its way down here. And there's also a bear involved. We might be dealing with two beasts battling it out.
Well, I hope that's the case. Then they can fight each other.
But they're also headed toward the hummingbirds meadow, and if
So despite my knees' protest, we ought to go.
Off in the distance, you hear the beating of those hummingbird wings, and you see a scattering of them fly towards you and past you through the woods.
let's follow the birds.
I mean, they are fleeing the meadow.
Follow the
should say.
birds.
So,
Follow the birds. Unless you want to take care of this and protect them, Barry, it's up to you. I would say follow the birds, but that's just because my mom taught me better.
My knees tell me to follow the birds. But everything else says I ought to take care of them and go the opposite way. But we are a group, and we can make this a group decision. Do we follow the birds? Yay or nay?
I mean, we're going to find a larger collection of feathers in that meadow, and taking those down will potentially be able to ensure that these birds have a better survival for at least a couple more, however long. And that therein would suggest.
Is it suddenly more
Bernard would have Yeah, you know what? I am feeling that, but I think we should head on. I mean, the sequoia's probably going to be blocking our path anyways, but I say we should probably protect the birds. And whatever scared them might be chasing them and hunting them.
So, moving
Danica,
on slightly.
I mean, if we don't do anything now, who knows what's going to happen and if this thing will even come closer to any other towns.
And besides that, we might have other Green Warden scouting. Like, this is the training ground for the scouts. I don't know about you, but I'd rather not have potentially a drake or a wyvern here trying to kill them.
So, we are going to move on as you all are taking your pace through the woods. Rainy, you come upon the fallen sequoia, and you all have to climb over it. And it is, in terms of climbing, like, it's the equivalent of having to scale kind of a small climbing wall or a small hill.
Barry will use geomancy to make it easier to climb.
Barry is the most utility character, and I love it. So,
Get yourself a note taker and a utility character, always.
at this point in time, you reach the top of this I should say, but it's more of like the side of this fallen trunk. And you're standing on it, and you see what is a beautiful meadow of giant lily flowers. Many of them with their stalks broken and their petals shredded. Alyssa, because you've been keeping an eye for this, you immediately clock as you climb the tree. The tree hasn't been uprooted. Something snapped it through the trunk.
A wyvern or bear?
Neither of them would be able to do this, because neither have a powerful enough tail to do this.
Drake.
And that doesn't
Drake.
clock right with you. And then Danica, Alyssa is looking at the broken tree. Barry, you're looking down at the ruined flowers. Rue, you're searching for more of the hummingbirds off in the distance to see if you can give any of them a push. Danica, you're taking in this scene all at once. And you are the one who looks up. And over the center of this meadow, you see what kind of looks like a bear, but it has almost scaled armored plating in ridges through some of its fur. And it is hanging upside down from one of the thicker branches of the sequoia from its tail, which you see transitions into a scaly, powerfully muscled limb that is prehensile in nature.
You made a danger possum!
And basically, but you see the tail itself ends. It's a drop bear. The tail itself ends in about a 6-clawed, almost hand-like appendage.
What the fuck kind of fucking bullshit is this?
Barry, Danica points and sort of stammers, and you look up, and you see something that shouldn't exist right now. I would like all of you to get to roll 20, please.
Oh, God.
I can't look like this and hold my knees.
Your knees, man.
Give me a moment. While you all are getting on to roll 20 and things, I need to fix our overlay slightly for the other scene. So give me a moment, and folks of the audience, give me a moment as well.
I'm
Oh, wow,
sorry.
you
This music
roll
is giving
20.
me anxiety.
Good, it should.
The Roll20 link is in the Discord chat, Danica.
Yeah, I got it. Let
Okay.
me- Should I?
I
click?
need it. Is it in
You- it is in main,
It
yes.
should be in main,
It-
yes.
It should be one of our tags.
I need to turn this. Down for me slightly. I love this music. So
Good music, but holy shit, I chose the wrong day to wear a fancy dress.
it's fine. So what I need to do is just all of this. Sorry folks, just give me 1 second while I reorganize things. For the purposes of playing initiative, just play a card off the top of your deck, please. And then hold on to it and let me know what it is in a moment.
Should one of us draw for Rue?
If you could, that would be nice. Need to turn it
Alright,
off.
I'll do it.
Yep. Oh, you're not supposed to be there, Fins.
Oh, damn it.
You are all in so many different places, and it is quite amusing. There we go. Rue, you go there.
Oh god.
And then I need to resize. Doing it live, folks. Zip. And then Nins, you go there, and we are all set. Alright. Turn roll 20 back on. So, you all are welcome to place yourselves where you see fit. There is no snap to grid, so you can just move yourselves, and you should all be able to, I would hope. Hold on.
I'm
off
seeing the
the main
beacons of
page.
Kelestraye, yeah.
Oh, wrong page. My bad. Zip. Stream
There
could
we
see it.
go.
Stream could see it. Also, yes, we do
I
have.
do not have control of my token.
Oh gosh. All right. Hold on.
Production live.
Hey, you know what? It happens. At least I know what the heck I am doing on roll 20. And yes, all of our tokens were made by me using the art provided by Basilisk Online. And today's map is brought to you by Valor Maps, a dear friend of the show, at Mr. Valor is Alive on Twitter. I have been able to play with Josh Valor, Josh/Valor, on Star Wars Legacies, and he's a wonderful map maker, so you should absolutely go check him out. He has very kindly provided me access to his Patreon backlog of maps to use. So we are not sponsored, but I am strictly using his maps for this show because he's a friend and I want to support him. So we are about to get into it. For initiative, you all play a card off the top of the deck and tell me what you played.
Alright, I'll go first since I drew 2 cards, one for Rue and one for myself.
Okay.
Rue got a King of Diamonds.
Okay.
And then I got a 6 of Diamonds.
Okay.
I
got a-
Wins.
of club.
All right. And Danica?
7 of hearts.
I don't know why I wrote all of your character names, but then I wrote Nins. I was just like, well,
It's Barry.
it is, yeah, basically. Before we get into this fight, I will tell you, Barry, the reason why you have this moment of, oh god, this shouldn't exist, this is an Urdrex. You are Drex.
Okay.
You would know these are not born, they are made. and they have not, and the means to make them was lost in the fall of Valdis, or the Valdian Empire. That's all I'll say for now. So, Rue, you are actually up first, so I hate to make you stay at Sin. But if you can play from where you are.
Then?
I wonder
Did
if
you
Sin
fall
fell asleep.
Sin, that's fine.
It's fine.
Rue, where are you? Are you alive?
I mean, if he's not waking up to any of us, he's not going to wake up to any of us at all. And it's fine. So, you know what? I can pilot Rue. If you can set off his phone, please do so. But other than that, I can functionally attempt to run him as kind of a test run to get you all to see how this works. So, for those at home and for the players, when you start your turn, you draw 3 cards. These represent your actions for the turn.
There we go.
Each time you do something requiring a skill check, you include a card from your hand in the check to note you using an action.
Sin, we need you on set.
Hi.
Your presence
We-
is
we
required,
need you
dear
on set.
Emperor.
Just calling to make sure you're okay.
And that we need you on set.
Yes, we do require your appearance.
Okay, let's make it
Very well. Bye-bye.
Why?
This is the best moment I've
Better.
ever had during a game, I'm just saying.
Beautiful phone call, and we caught it live.
I love it. I love this.
Okay, this is actually exactly the reason why Ro has my phone number, just in case shit like this happens to me.
Yeah.
So, I'll wait for Sin to appear and I'll continue explaining the way the action system works. We may run a few minutes late today just because things happen.
My fault, I'm sorry.
No, it's actually not your fault. It's just that I want to finish this fight before we close out the episode. So I will probably do things behind the scenes to make it run a little quicker.
Okay, let's do a mock turn.
So mock turn wise, you draw 3 cards at the start of your turn.
So let's say I have these top 3 cards for my deck. I got a 7 of cards, a 6 of hearts, and a 2 of clubs. Or
Yeah.
7 of clubs. Yeah. So what would these do for me?
Basically, what you do is these represent your actions. So you get 3 actions per turn. Anytime you do something requiring a skill check, so you make an attack, you do something that someone is trying to stop you from doing, etc., you just include a card from your hand as part of the check. So then you just finish it out from the deck as normal. So if you're making a skill check with 2 cards, you use one from your hand and the second one comes from the deck. That's just to show that you are using an action as part of the skill check. These really just track how much you can do in a turn.
Okay.
That said, you can also, for those of you, we've all played D&D, for those of you used to D&D, you can also react to things outside of your turn. And if you do, you need to have a card in hand and play it out as part of the check that you're doing.
Okay.
When you are targeted by other people, you don't use a card from your hand as part of the check. You just play your defense. Because it wouldn't really be fair to force you to use an action to protect yourself. That wouldn't make sense. So this is where your defense stat comes into play. When someone targets you with a thing, you play your defense. When you are targeting someone else with a thing, you play a skill check.
Okay.
For reactions, If you don't have a card in hand, you can still react to other things. Each time you take a reaction without a card in hand, you'll draw one less card on your next turn. So you basically can take up to 6
It's
actions.
Bravely Default.
Yeah, it's exactly Bravely Default with cards. So you can take pretty much up to 6 actions on your turn or between turns. But if you do, you'll skip your next turn. And that's just for your own purposes. Now, for the purposes of comparing it to D&D, because it's a reference point we all have, the like quote unquote size of your actions doesn't change. You can do any full skill check with any action you want. Movement just means if you want to move 1 square, you discard a card. And you're good.
And the squares are our zone system, so it's
Normally, for smaller creatures, you would have to enter a creature's zone to hit them in melee, and then it's zones starting with yours heading out. So if you have something that is, or not starting with yours, pardon me. If you have a range of 2 zones, you can hit something up to 2 zones away. For your skills, this is the point where weapons become important, because if you're using ranged weapons, they will replace the range of your skill. So it is the weapon, not your skill.
okay.
That is what makes ranged weapons important, because most of them get higher ranges than any skills will allow you to have this early. For magic, for social skills, and all that stuff, range is equal to your skill level.
Okay.
And that's the gist of it. Now, the one last thing you all should be aware of is when you choose to attack or deal damage, it's kind of a 2-point thing, actually. Damage is an exchange, so if you fail the check and the enemy's in range, they'll deal damage to you. And vice versa. If they target you and they fail, you get to bonk them instead as a counterattack to make combat run more quickly.
Okay.
Damage is tracked in a very strange way, but in a very fun way. So when you as players take damage, you have a damage column next to your skills. That column will get filled with like stacking -1 penalties. So you get to choose how this goes. It is -1/-1 counters from Magic if anyone plays Magic or has played. So basically, you get to choose where those counters go. So you get to choose what skills take those penalties. And when your penalty matches your skill level, you have to start assigning them to a new skill, and you can't use that skill till it gets healed. So you kind of have to track what skills are still active for you because you're taking these hits over time. Your skills are your hit points, basically. That said, it's 4 of you versus 1 of it, and each of you gets 3 actions, so this fight's probably going to go very quickly. But this is to get you used to it. So.
Who knows? We'll see. Rue, you're up first because I drew a king for you.
Oh, joy.
Only appropriate for Sin. Drawing a king.
Oh, what did you decide to do with that cascading effect?
Oh, no. That was our turn order. That was our turn order.
Yeah, that was initiative.
Oh, okay.
So you're up first. Sorry, not sorry.
So this is a big angry creature.
This is
Big angry creature.
what looks like a slightly armored bear with a massive kind of prehensile tail that has a 6-clawed appendage at the end. Looks a bit like if you combined a bear with a very scaled ape and then added a few things.
I mean, I was thinking of like you know Apom, that Pokemon.
Yeah, it's a monstrous ape.
You match that with a bear and an armadillo.
Kind of. Ro is very confused.
That's gross. I hate that.
So this thing has just uncurled itself. It is like hanging over the meadow from some of the branches using its tail, and it sees you all and roars.
Of course.
So this is a thing that a question for the DM. Is this an absolutely we have to battle the thing, or is this like a bad guy, or is this a thing that you could try to communicate with?
This is not a naturally created creature. So and it appears that it is the thing that has been wounding these hummingbirds. So I will say that the chance to reason with this is exceedingly low for all of you.
Okay.
Also, I need to draw a thing.
This
It
is
is
an
not-
absolute, we have to at least send it packing kind of deal. Tell it to not come back.
Yeah, you're at least gonna have to spook it or something of the sort.
Okay. And we get you get 3 actions.
Yep. I'm going to draw. This is going to show up well.
Okay. Then I suppose.
There we go. All right, so we'll say this thing brought down a tree that you are all kind of standing on the trunk of. So we'll say that that black box is the tree trunk that is now just across the battlefield.
Okay.
So, you all have control. Snap to grid is turned off, so you can just move where you see fit, and so on and so forth. What would you like to do, Sin?
I guess. We'll start off easy and hope that this doesn't go too badly. I am going to use a bit of aeromancy, and let's see about calling on some weather patterns.
All right. And what are you intending to do with this aeromancy?
I suppose we're going to try to strike it with a bolt of lightning.
All right. You're free to describe this how you will. So what you'll do is you will make an aeromancy check, use 1 card from your hand as part of it, and pull the rest of the cards from the deck, as you would a normal skill check.
So, it's a level 2, so I draw 2 cards, right?
Yeah, so 1 card will be from your hand and 1 card will be from the top of the deck.
Oh, okay. So I need to draw 3 cards in the first place. Maybe I should do that.
That'd be a good
Okay.
idea.
So draw 1 from the top of the deck. All right. And 1 card from hand. All right. Well, the draw from the deck was this.
Funny enough, I also pulled 1. King of Diamonds. So, this thing is going to try and cascade because it does not want to get hit by lightning. Ooh, I played it too. So what's your total, Sin?
So I can play any card from my hand, or do I have to play this at random?
No, you can play any card from your hand. This is where having cards in your hand comes in handy to top off your skill checks.
Okay. Card in hand would be the king's mate.
Well, shit. Okay, what do you want for your perk? Do you want to cascade for your king? I'll tell you right now, you probably don't have to because you've kicked my ass already in terms of the check. So you can choose a perk, or you can leave it up to me to offer you a choice, or you can deal double damage.
Well, our goal is to kind of scare this creature off, right?
I believe so, yes.
Scare it or end its life, whichever one comes first.
Nins, you're muted, by the way.
Don't choose the wrong button.
There we go.
Yay.
If we let this go, it'll just come back.
Yeah. So this is the.
Okay.
We
so,
might as well send it to the Great Sleep.
Double damage it is.
All right. So, fun side of things for me is basically I track damage for creatures based on damage to its abilities. So over time, the more damage you deal, the less things it can do. In the same way that the more damage I deal to you all, the less things you can do.
Mm-hmm.
So I will say, would you like this to affect one of its attacks? So either its tail or its bite or its claws, one of its passive abilities, or would you like it to affect its tail slam ability?
You know something? I'm gonna go with its tail slam ability. I'm imagining that having a prehensile tail the tail is probably going to be the trickiest, the most dangerous thing to deal with. So we'll go with that. Trying to limit its abilities with that. And on that note, I'm getting very big, like, hey, this is, I chopped off the tail and Monster Hunter vibes.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say that's what it is, but you're pretty close. So what happens is, for Ro, who looks mildly distressed, in Monster Hunter, there's a mechanic where you can break the parts of creatures, and that does certain things. In this instance, you won't be breaking its tail completely, but you will be wounding it to a point where it won't be able to use its tail effectively.
Oh my god.
It's
I wouldn't be that gruesome with it.
It's and even then, it's just like dinosaur tails that do get broken off. It's just that weird thing, but it affects their, like, you break off their tail spines and they just say you break their tail. You don't like completely break the thing off. It depends on the monster you're hunting.
Yeah, this works in the same process, except to not let it be so gruesome. It's just, you make it not want to use its tail because ow. But that said, this bolt of lightning lances out, and Rue, I kind of imagine you actually conjure a storm over you in a small manner.
Over this creature.
And this bolt lances downwards and strikes its tail where its tail is grasping the tree branch, causing it to let go. And then the bolt actually like arcs out and grounds out at the point of your fan that you've drawn.
Bad! No!
And it falls to the ground, and it's large enough that like it stands up and then it sweeps its now wounded tail underneath it, and it is at like eye level with y'all when it's using its tail to stand. And it is big.
Me, fan in hand, because I don't have it in hand right now. Bad. No, you don't hurt hummingbirds. Hummingbirds are friends, not things that you just bat around and break in the woods. I see that I will have to take another action.
Yes, you have 2 more. So what would you like to do?
We're gonna do another aeromancy.
All right.
Well, no, you might get a better draw than me on this one.
Fair chance of that. Y'all know how I draw in this game.
Okay, so what'd you get?
Pretty good, actually. A jack and a 9, so a 19.
You know something? Because I drew a 6 from the deck. And I think what I'm going to do for fun, just so we can go ahead and get this one out of the way, is to play this other 2 that I have in hand.
All right, so you try and lance out with, I would assume, another bolt of lightning.
Mm-hmm.
The arc this time, it kind of expects it, so it waits till it sort of almost sees the flash happening and then dodges out of the way. And it actually sweeps its prehensile tail up at you and like scatters a shotgun of debris in your direction. So you'll take 1 damage for that, and you can assign that -1 penalty to whatever skill you like. It should be fairly straightforward to use in the character sheet if you're using the updated one. If not,
I don't have the updated one, but I think I get it.
Yeah, it's -1 counters for magic if you've played that.
I have. So we're not using morale, it's just like a skill thing.
Yeah, it's just a skill thing. So now the more damage you take, the less you can do, because that just kind of makes sense.
Okay, that's fine.
But that said, you do still have 1 more action, so if you choose to, you can move 1 square or do whatever else you like.
Can I store that action for use on a later turn?
You absolutely
Yes.
can, just hold the card.
Okay, then that is what I will do. At the beginning of my next turn, do I draw 3 more cards?
Yes.
Okay.
It is Bravely Default. Just with no cap. So that was your turn, Rue. Now it's its turn.
Oh,
It played very high in initiative when I pre-played it. So it gets 3 actions. I'm not going to draw a hand for this because meh. It is going to spend one of them. Oop. I need to be on a movement, not on a drawing. It's going to spend one of them to rush up here. And you see it kind of coils its like it goes down on all fours, rushes up to the tree trunk y'all are standing on, which probably puts you all about like 10 to 15 feet off the ground. And then it coils its tail under it to rise up, and it's gonna try and bap Rue with one of its claws because Rue just struck it with lightning.
Okay, so a question.
Mm-hmm.
How do reactions work here?
The way reactions work is if you have a card in your hand, you can just use that card and then you decide what you want to do for your reaction the same way you take an action.
However, if you're trying to defend yourself with one of your skills, you will not have to use the card from your hand.
You just use your defense stat. Yep.
Okay, so my defense stat is how many cards I draw, or what? How does that work?
Your defense is just a skill check, so it's the same idea as you just play it off the top of the deck. If you're targeted by a thing. So if you'd like to take a reaction and do something other than just try and defend yourself, you certainly can.
Okay, well, here's what I would like to do specifically. I would like to try to use a concentrated blast of air from this magical fan to move myself out of the way.
As a reaction, I'd say that it would take a reaction, but you certainly can. Because
Okay, well,
I'm treating it like movement.
Yeah, that's I thought as much. I guess there are a couple of ways I could go about doing that now that I think about it, but aeromancy was the first thing I thought about. So I have a defense of 2. Do I just draw 2 cards?
Yep, just play 2 off the top of the deck.
Okay.
It has an attack of 2. So I need to draw 2.
Well, this is fun. So I have a 10 and an ace.
Okay, so remember to mark your omen for that ace.
Okay.
Also mark like 3 destinies because of your kings this game.
Oh crap, I need to mark like how many destinies? I got like 2 kings, I think, so I have 2 destinies.
I think so, yeah.
Hold on,
so
okay, hold on. 3 destinies and just 1. I guess I have like what, 2 moments now?
Yep. So
I haven't been able to keep track of my previous ones. Oops.
Because this is, first off, I played a jack and a queen, so he's gonna bop you as you try and move. I'm not gonna prevent your movement from happening because it's still a reaction anyways. I will say though, for that ace,
I don't know if you can spend potential to overwrite that, but if you can, well, there's that. But we'll see.
We do have a pool of 2 potential.
Yep, you do still have 2 like just communal potential that you could spend. If you'd like, you can certainly play a banked card with it if you have any banked cards.
I do.
So
I give back when I take out.
You can spend a point to play a banked card. Should you choose?
Okay. Then let's do that and see what happens. I have an 8. So that would be an 18.
Okay. I still have a jack and a queen for his attack.
So that's a 20. Yep.
If you have any more banked cards, you can use them. If not,
I mean, I probably do, but I should probably also not spend them all at once. We're just gonna see what happens.
a fair point. So it's gonna bop you. I'll say for that ace, would you prefer to draw 1 less card on your next turn as it kind of knocks the wind out of you? Or would you prefer to drop your fan for a moment and take a slight penalty to your aeromancy until you can retrieve it. Neither of these are good things.
But I mean, it's also an omen card you drew.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true. I think I will just draw one less card next turn.
Okay, cool. So you get bopped and it sort of knocks the wind out of you. Also, Rainy, why are you purchasing potential?
I told you, I give back what I take out.
I need to up the cost of that. But that's it.
Excuse you?
It's fine.
I don't know if that's allowed. I don't know if those are. I don't know
I
if
put
those
that
are part
there
of the
for
rules.
the audience.
I'm a part of the audience.
That said, it does that. It moves forward one. It has one more action, so it's actually going to move at an angle back away from y'all because it does not want to deal with you. And that's its turn. Next up is sorry.
Row, if I remember right.
Yes,
Unless Barry
Yes.
got above Row.
Ro, you
No,
are
I
up.
think it was.
Danica. Yeah, it's
Yeah. So
it's Rue, Creature, Danica, Alyssa, Barry.
Okay.
It's currently 2 away
I'm
from
going.
you.
Yeah. So I'm going to draw my sword.
Mhm.
And make a slash at it using my pyromancy to extend the blade.
Okay, so that'll be a pyromancy check, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that's bad.
So that's a 2. So it's a King of Hearts and 5 of Spades.
King of Hearts and 5 of Spades. Yeah, you definitely hit. So you strike this thing. How do you imagine this flame blade strikes it?
Kind of. So I'm gonna take the blade, and as I swing, it's kind of like the flame kind of whip-like swings and slashes across the front of it.
Okay. So you've hit on a thing. I'll tell you right now, you discovered this thing's fear, which is fire. And because of that, you're going to deal 2 damage instead of 1 to it. Now, you've slashed it across the face, so I'll say that goes towards its melee attack, because part of its melee attack is potentially a bite. So you have potentially turned off
Oh yeah.
its melee attack. It's looking kind of hurt. A few more hits like that and it'll be down. You still have 2 more actions.
Oh god. Okay, I'm gonna bank that king and
Okay, bravely, Danica.
let's see if its fear is fire. I'm going to move up 1 and do the same thing, but make it more of like a wall in front of it.
Okay. Its defense.
It's a queen and an 8.
I got a queen and a 9. So you bring this wall up and it gets very angry at you as it sees you approach. And you expect it to kind of like come down on top of you because it's sort of standing with its tail right now. But instead, it, much more agile than you anticipated, it backflips off its tail and lashes you with the tail as it does so. So you'll take 1 point of damage from that
Okay,
in
let's
the
see
exchange. So you can assign that to whatever skill you choose. That said, I do believe it is Alyssa's turn next.
Yes. We're
Alyssa,
not gonna get fancy with it.
you just watched a dino bear do a backflip.
Yeah, Dino Bear do a backflip, but Dino Bear also has to face with carapace punching arrows with big ass bow.
Mm-hmm.
Monster Hunter time.
So, what would you like to do?
Okay, first of all, I gotta draw my 3 cards. And I would like to make a precision check.
All right.
And launch an arrow. If the wall of fire is still up, probably through the firewall, but...
Oh yeah, it would still be up. I imagine this is all, like, after it rushed you, this is all kind of happening at once, in terms of you
so
and
this is
Danica.
like it's like a 6, so this is like a 6 second per turn kind of deal.
Yeah, I get flexible with combat time here because I want you all to be able to do cool things. So we'll say you can absolutely light an arrow on fire as it passes through a firewall.
Of course, it's actually made of wood. Anyways, so I will use my precision check for that. So that is 1 card. That's a 9 of diamonds and a jack of hearts.
Yeah, I played a 3 and a 2 for its defense. So this boy hurt. Where would you like to sink that point of damage? What were you aiming for?
Let's see. Bites down, tail slams down. Oh, we're gonna make this hurt and make sure that it can't do like a claw attack with its tail. Or it can't do the scoopy.
So you're aiming for the tail again. Would you like its ranged attack to take the damage, or would you like its power to take the damage? Because it still has a bit of use of its tail left.
Ranged attack to take the damage. I don't want it scattering debris in my friends' faces.
Okay. So you sink an arrow into its tail and it screeches.
You should have behaved. I told you to behave.
You did tell it to behave. What else would you like to do?
You know what? In earnest of making sure that this thing is gone, I'm gonna do another arrow.
All right, go for it.
All right, that's another precision check. That is a 7 of clubs and a 3 of hearts.
I played 2 aces. So,
Yikes.
I'll give you the benefit on this. Do you want one of its abilities to be shut off as well as dealing damage? Or do you just want to deal double damage and let me assign it?
Double damage and let you assign accordingly.
Okay. So...
Or does this creature just draw 2 less cards on its next turn?
I mean, I could also do that if you'd like, because actually, now that I think about it, the double damage and have it assign is a little bit rough. I
mean, we're trying to get rough, but okay, sure. I'll have it just only draw 1 turn. 1 card a turn.
So it'll draw 1 action on its next turn, and it is very sluggish and stunned. I'll say we'll sink those points of damage into that. So, it is looking very sore right now. I believe you have 1 shot left.
Are you going to take the shot?
I'm taking the shot. I taking the shot.
All right.
That's a 5 of clubs and a 2 of diamonds. So that's a failure on that one, but that's fine.
Yes, it is a failure on that one. So when this 3rd arrow basically bounces off one of its scales, because it's hard to miss, it's so chunky, it kind of rounds its head on you and then settles like off of its tail, and the tail comes up behind it and chucks a stone at you or a piece of log. So you'll take 1 damage from that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that said, Barry, it's your turn.
So I believe that there is a partial wall of fire.
There is a partial wall of fire, yes.
Mm-hmm.
As my first action, I would like to create a ring of dry plant material around the creature so that the wall will expand around the creature.
Okay, I'll say, do you intend for this to deal damage immediately, or would you rather it be an
No.
environmental effect?
I would rather it be an environmental event.
Okay, so in that case, play me a geomancy skill check, and we'll see just how far this ring goes. If it's a full circle or a semicircle.
That is 2 10s for 20.
Ooh, yeah, all right. So, I'm just gonna do one of these real quick. And we're just gonna zip. There's now a ring of fire around this creature and it is very panicked. Johnny Cash starts playing in the background. Was it Johnny Cash?
It was
think it
Johnny
was.
Cash.
Yes. Yes, it was Johnny Cash.
And then, we would like, Barry would like to control the earth so that a large stake plummets out from underneath the what do you call it? The
Urdrex.
The Urdrex.
Okay. So, play your
That is an
geomancy skill.
attack.
Play your geomancy skill check. This thing is just getting bullied.
That is a 16.
Yeah. Where would you like this damage to go? I will tell you, it's melee attack, one of its passives, and its power are like on their last legs.
Then I'll take care of its melee attack. We'll give it a big old thorn in the paw.
You absolutely do. So you spear it through one of its paws, and the fire roars up around it. So it is disoriented and wounded, and you get the sense that it will not have a clean shot with either its bite or its claws.
And then we'll use my last action to do the same thing on the other paw.
Okay.
Holy crap. For
Jacket of King. All right, so would you like to deal double
Jesus.
damage, or would you like some other perk?
I would like to deal double damage.
All right, so since you're
Double
dealing,
dare, physical challenge.
I'll say, I'll take out one of its passives, and the damage will overflow to the other passive as well, because it has 2. So, one of it is more than halfway down at this point. I should have upped its defense, but that's fine.
my whole turn.
All right, it is now your turn, Rue.
Are there any like open or fleshy parts of the creature
After all
that
this,
are visible?
after all this beating, yes, there are also a couple of well-placed arrows that make great lightning rods.
Okay. So because wait, I just have one less card this turn.
Yes.
All right. So okay. This is me being extra, but I know that extra is kind of what we aim for around here.
Mm-hmm.
How far can I throw a soul forged weapon?
I'd say equal to your skill level, unless you have like a vigor or some other skill that's better. Like it's
Okay.
that idea of yeet with soul forging, or unless you have like vigor or dueling that's higher, you can use one of those. It's up to you.
Okay, so I know my soul forging is definitely higher than my vigor. I don't know. Wait, what range is it away from us?
It is 2 zones away from you.
Okay, so this is what I'm thinking. You can tell me if this is something I could even do. The only way I really know how to describe it is to try to use soul forging to like knock it out of phase and disorient it.
Okay. Disorient is a status effect, so you can absolutely do this. Yes.
Okay. So, let's see. We get one card from hand and one card from deck. Please, card from deck. Okay. We have a 10 and a 5.
I pulled an ace. How badly do you want to disorient this?
Like, I want this, like, for a moment, this creature should see the entire world go from... How did this creature see the world? In color, I guess? Is it in color, or is it in black and white?
It sees it in color.
See the world... It should see the whole thing go from, like, rich, lavish color to a sickly color of green.
It does. And I will also say, because you've disoriented it, it can't attack past melee while disoriented, but you also broke its melee. So it currently is like, in the way that bears do when they take a boot to the snoot, it is like covering its face with its wounded claws right now and roaring angrily.
Signature phrases have been said, although we don't know what they are yet. And I summon my sword from the ether and throw it straight at the creature through the fire, and then you just hear roaring a moment later, and you're just like, wait, what did you do? It's like that kind of, wait, what did you do?
Yep.
Okay. So, well, there's one card. I guess for my second action here, you know what? I think I'm going to just save the other two actions.
Save your action.
All right. Next up is the Urdrex's turn. It is surrounded by fire on all sides, and it currently could only attack in melee, but doesn't have its melee attack anymore. So it is going to attempt to shotgun some debris through the wall of fire at Ro, because Ro is in melee with it. So it's got 2 cards. I pulled a king and a 6, so it's gonna cascade on that to try and extra hit you.
Fuck.
Yeah, I've got a 26 on this.
Yeah, no, I got a total of 7. That's gonna...
Yeah, so you're gonna actually take 1 damage for this one as it swipes its tail in your direction again, and you kind of see it swipe like somewhat through the wall of fire, and then there's just like a log and some debris clocks you like full force in the chest.
Okay.
So that said, that is also the only action it gets this turn because of certain things. Looking at you there, Alyssa, and looking at you there, Rue. So it is now, I believe, Danica's turn.
Danica.
It's my turn. My turn.
You just got clocked by debris. There are twigs in your hair and a log at your feet, and you are at a breast.
I'm going to try to... Yeah, I'm going to manipulate the ring of fire and kind of push it into it.
Okay, so...
Yeah, teamwork.
Make a pyromancy check.
That's a queen and a 2, so it's a total of 12.
I got an 11, so it works, and it's taking double damage from the fire right now because it's afraid of it. So,
Oh, God.
It is almost down. It just has its ranged attack left. You have 2 actions left. What would you like?
Really demonic right now.
Well, you have to remember too, in the middle of all this, I'm not describing it well, but it has been moving back and forth. It's been trying to hit you all and missing. Like, whenever you all take a strike, it tries to hit you. It's just you're hitting it first. So it has been chucking debris. It's thrown a couple logs, like...
I'm going to...
I got this last shot, Danica, if you don't want to attack it anymore.
I'm just going to move a little bit out of its way, just a little bit. Okay, I'm saving the rest of my actions. I'm good.
All right. Alyssa, you're up.
And I'm drawing 3?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. One last go. Precision. Strike once again through the ring of fire.
All right.
So that is a ace and a jack.
Well, you're still gonna hit because I played so poorly.
That's an omen, though.
Yeah, so mark your omen. I'll say,
String slap fucking hurts, especially with that goddamn bow.
sure. Take 1 damage from string slap. Why not?
No,
Like,
like,
I'm just imagining you just like,
it like got underneath the arm guard.
Yep.
I'm actually probably bleeding a little bit because of that fucking shit.
Yeah. So take the 1 damage,
like
and it takes
having
1 damage.
it's
I'm
like having a string break when you're trying to play guitar during a concert.
I've had that happen.
Yeah.
So, Rainy, it is on its last leg.
Mm-hmm.
You have 2 more actions.
Mm-hmm. I thought I damaged it.
You did. It took 1 point of
Okay.
damage.
All right, you know what? Let the fates be kind, and this thing isn't really going to be. Essentially, we're leaving this thing out here to perish anyway, so I might as well make it quick. One last go, one last shot. Okay, 6 of diamonds and an 8 of hearts from, or a 9 of hearts from my hand.
Just
Would
barely.
you? I have a question. Because, well, let me ask a question about these sorts of actions. Can I have a call back to episode 1 of our show?
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
How do I do
Especially
that?
since you.
Do I need to spend?
She's already succeeded on the check, so just spend an action, and we'll say this happens.
Okay. Actions away.
I mean, honestly, that would make sense though for Rue to do a callback because he probably sees Alyssa just like shake her bow arm out a bit because of that
Mhm.
string slap.
So, Alyssa, I'll tell you right now, this will down the creature.
Mhm.
You pull back your string and you feel the gust of wind behind you, and you time it for the peak of the gust.
You get one of those anime swirling airlines around like the arrow.
And then, as that happens, over the sound of the gust of wind, you also just hear. Perfect shot. Nice. And you watch
I noticed.
as the arrow flies, and I would say it is potentially only Rue that might notice this, because Rue is focused on helping Alyssa versus the rest of the battle. As Alyssa draws, Rue, you immediately get this sense of there's almost a secondary, larger, slightly broader shouldered silhouette.
Like a superimposed figure.
Not really superimposed, but almost like firing line style next to her. And only Rue and Alyssa would see this really. But as the arrow flies, it's almost like it has its own spectral shadow, and there's 2 hits when it strikes instead of 1. And then the creature roars and it rears up on its hind legs in front of you, Danica, and you're afraid it's going to come down on top of you. And then it falls backwards onto its back. So that ends the fight. And we are running over time, but I do want to give a bit of a little exit narration as well.
Barry roils the earth to put out the fire immediately.
I would assume so. And Barry, it is you for whom this narration takes place.
Okay.
You are a person who has studied the magics and slightly the histories of this world. You know that the Urdrex were created as war beasts, and they are, for lack of a better term, chimera. They are a fusion of other creatures in that Full Metal Alchemist style of chimera. Generally a dinosaur and a bear. After you roil the earth, you get a sense kind of this creature's tie to the wild at a distance, and you're sort of drawn to it. And upon looking it over, it is on its back with its mouth open, and on its tongue you find an emblem of a crescent moon over Caduceus. And that is where we are going to end today's episode.
Ah!
Hmm.
So-
I'm gonna have to watch the VOD and miss like our wonderful trekking adventures. I'm so sorry again, everybody, that I had to miss it. It's really hard to, get out of.
Shout out to Etsy for these cards. These were fun to play with.
They are
Ooh, where'd
lovely.
you get them? You'll have to link the shop. Link the shop.
They have two complementary decks. One of them is primary black with gold print, and the other one is primary gold with normal color print. So I bought
Black and gold. Black and gold. That's an Alyssa deck right there.
It is.
So I bought this because there's a game that there's a special kind of thing that's coming up, and my counterpart in that game bought the black and gold deck.
Nice. So, thank you for everyone who joined us. Thank you for joining us late, Rainy. I know today was a long day for you, and I appreciate it. Thank you, all of you. I do hope you enjoyed your first combat, even though it was a little bit of a steamroll. I wanted to get you all used to the mechanics, so, steamrolls are good for that.
So that you can beat us up later.
Exactly. And also so I could drop a little bit of a tasty hint here and there. But that said, thank you for everyone at home who joined us, but we are going to kind of just get into our outro here. So, overlay order, Sin, Rainy, Ro, Nins, do the thing and tell people where they can find you.
Hi, my name is Sinziak of the Sunflower Kingdom. I am he, him. My character is Rue, who is from the they, them empire, as Nins called it earlier. As far as places that you can find me on the Twitters and also here on Mondays and Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, and obviously among this lovely cast of people every other week.
Hi, I'm Rainy. I joined as Slate. I am of the she, her, and they, them interchangeably kingdom. You can find me here at Rainy Keys for art streams and gaming streams. And you can also find me on Twitter at Rain Keys. I played Alyssa Vesper, who is she, her.
And I am Monroe. I'm a he, they goblin. And I play Danica, who is of the she, they empire. And y'all can find me at Monroe98 on Twitter, where I do game design stuff, writing, editing, and sensitivity reading.
One she, them goblin for one, or he, them goblin for one. That's all that I can think of.
I am Ninbins. You can find me at Ninbins. My pronouns hail from the mountain of he, him. I play Ye Old Berry, whose pronouns hail from the empire.
And I am Eric, aka Eldritch Crow, your narrator, court jester of the Heath Empire. as always. And God knows I've been messing up pronouns left and right this night, so it only makes sense that I can't figure out my own.
Yay!
It's fine. But I do hope you all have a wonderful week. Stay safe, be happy, have a good day, and thank you for joining us as always. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
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 Bye.